Deepwokens factions. Different groups separated by ideologies involving religion, politics, and interest within the Deepwoken world. Every faction has different goals, from world domination to world annihilation to the pursuit of knowledge, and some just like killing. In today's video, I will be explaining the different factions, their beliefs and ideals, as well as their connections and main goals. Hope you all enjoy, and let's get straight into it, starting with Etria. Etria of the Etrian Luminant is a faction consisting mostly of the Etrian people, a race or aspect based on snakes. Etria consists of the islands Etris and the Isle of Vigils, with the Isle of Vigils being Etris's off-mainland military school where they send soldiers to learn to fight and learn the arts of combat under their leader, Maestro Eventguard Rest. However, Etria doesn't directly command the Isle of Vigils, leaving them to lead themselves with their own separate government and governing body. The main goal of Etria is basically just survival. They don't particularly care about the business of other factions and just prefer to be left alone. This does mean that their current #1 goal is fighting off the central authority who wants to conquer basically the entire world, but we'll come back to them later. As far as important figures within Etria go, we have three: the old king of Etria, the Lord Regent, and Maestro Eventguard Rest. The old king of Etria is the first I'll be discussing. Not much is known about him other than the fact that he is one of the strongest characters in the verse, to the point where his murmur, which is believed to be ardor, was strong enough to shape the seas. Which is really important because we all know that only higher beings and extremely powerful people within the Deepwokenverse can control water. And when I say we all know that, I'm assuming you watched the other lore videos I've uploaded recently, because then you would know that too. But this does mean that the King of Etria is potentially and probably top 3 in the entire verse, or at least top 5. He is at the very least stated to have the strongest murmur. The Ministry, who we'll cover later, wanted to control Etris, and since they couldn't kill the King of Etria, they had to pull a Gojo and seal him away. So all we really know is that he's been sealed away, and that the Ministry put the Lord Regent at the top of Etria, making him their new ruler. In Etris, the throne, which was originally the Old King's, grants a massive power boost to whoever sits in it, which allows the Lord Regent to essentially mind control and influence the people of Etris, keeping them compliant and blind to his evil with mind control, with only those who are strongly willed left capable to see his dark side, such as Kenneth, Maestro, and the player character. Then there is the Maestro Eventguard, who knows the Lord Regent is evil, and he's actually stronger than him and wants to kill him. The only problem being that is, if he kills the Lord Regent, then Etris is left without a leader, allowing the central authority to come in and take over easily. And he isn't capable of fighting off the entirety of the central authority alone, which is why he plots in the shadows and waits for his time to strike, while trying to find a way to unseal the King of Etria. Next up is the Ministry, and they're basically just evil. Like, they have no clear motivation other than just being evil. One of their favorite activities is hiring bounty hunters to kill people. Sometimes specific people to meet their goals, and other times just random people because they like killing. The Ministry's main goal is the sinking of the overworld into the depths, which is what they did with the city of Lost Selter and possibly most of the Southern Luminant. Along with that, their main enemy is the Children of Neve, who they want to silence by any means possible, because of two reasons. First of all, they're the last remaining group from the Southern Luminant which they sank, meaning the Children of Neve could help take them down by spreading awareness of them being evil, but as well as them having alliance with the Celestial Neve, who is good and not evil, so that makes them even more so against the Ministry. Anyway, the important figures within the Ministry include the 9 prophets, who are their leaders. The first prophet is the Ascended Deepwoken of the Shadow Attunement, who's missing, but is likely in the depths somewhere past Layer 3. The first prophet is also stated to be the strongest mortal and likely isn't human anymore, as he's been stated to have lost his humanity. The second prophet is the creator of Bloodrend as an attunement and the master of Chaser and Virelda, but he just kind of gives people the oath and lets them use Blood Attunement in a limited way as an oath, so I guess that's cool. And then there is the fourth prophet, which is the last one we have any information on, but the fourth prophet is the current Lord Regent of Etria, sitting on the throne in Etris. It is presumed that the prophets are ranked from 1 through 9 in terms of strength, just because it seems like 1 and 2 would definitely be stronger than 4, who is the Lord Regent, because 1 is the strongest, 2 created an attunement. We don't know how strong they are, but it's kind of looking like they're ranked by strength, but that's not confirmed. Next up, I just quickly wanted to cover Lost Seltor. Lost Seltor, once known as just Seltor, were a faction consisting of, you guessed it, Seltors. Before anyone tries to tell me it's pronounced Keltor, no. Seltor in Keltor, it doesn't even make sense because it's not in reference to the Latin pronunciation, and we don't speak French here. The English pronunciation is Seltor and is only used with a K noise in reference to religious meanings such as the Celtic cross. So it is Seltor, not Keltor. From an English standpoint, from any language standpoint that isn't French or Italian, it is Seltor, okay? Anyway, their only real goal is to survive and escape the depths, which that's not happening. But as it is now, they're all just struggling down there. The city of Lost Seltzer was sunk by the Ministry as an offering to the drowned god Yun Shul, except Yun Shul didn't really care and kind of just ignored their offering. There aren't any people of importance within the lost city of Seltzer anymore, but I guess the Duke does originally come from there, so he's important and he's kind of trying to stop the Ministry, but you know, that's really all. They do have a neutral reputation with both the Divers and Ignition Union though, which is notable. Next up is the Central Authority, the current leading power in the overworld. Their main base and land of operation is in the Central Luminant. As for their goals, they have two. They want to destroy the Ministry, and they want to take over the world. They want to control the world because they just want power, and they want to destroy the Ministry because they're the most threatening faction to them, having the power to sink islands and drown them, as well as holding some of the strongest mortals in the entire verse. The Central Authority has three notable individuals within its ranks, only one of which are in the game right now. Starting with the lowest ranking and one in the game, Vice Warden Morad, currently considered to be the third in command with the authority's ranks as a Vice Warden. He doesn't really do much or provide much lore other than Chain Warden, as he is the quest NPC for the Chain Warden Oath. He's also likely the main commander within Fort Merit, being the only high-ranking NPC there. The second one, who is the Warden and current leading party for the Central Luminant and Central Authority, is Warden Jericho. He's assumed to be an adrit based on his rank within the Central Authority, which, you know, comes with experience, and all the oldest members are adrits because they come from the old Adrechian Empire. Interestingly enough, Warden Jericho actually has quite a lot of lore through both notes and his journal, which is used for the strength uncap at the Tome of the Nameless Warrior. Now, he does seem to be sympathetic for the Etrians, considering Lord Regent to be subhuman, and blaming him for this war that they've been sucked into. One of the verses in his journal reads, "I fear for the Etrian people, that they are to become casualties in a war beyond their understanding, being led by that thing they call a lord. I thought the contractors had been wiped out, but they have surely just been hiding within the Ministry. It all makes sense now, but it seems far too late. I fear we may have fallen for his plan. The authorities' peacekeeping may soon become the sole reason for the largest great drowning since Seltor." Quite a long excerpt, but it says a lot about his character. He also possesses an oath known as War Master, which isn't in the game, but it is apparently used by many high-ranking authority members, and it might be like a better version of Ardor, who knows. The last notable NPC is Dralis Heir, the leader of the Central Authority. He is stated to be immortal, so he may actually be a Deepwoken of some sort, but nobody knows what attunement, if any. Although it's speculated to be Thundercall given the fact that it's the Central Authority's main attunement. The man is basically completely faceless, having never been seen by anyone of the modern day, to the point where the Central Authority's helmets are made to mimic that of a faceless warrior, making them non-differentiable. In fact, it's not even known if Dralis Heir really exists because so few people have seen him, and he's been the leader of the Central Authority since its inception. He rose to power after stopping an event known as the Godstorm, which had destroyed the old Adrechian Empire. After their leaders were killed, he stepped up and turned the ruins of the Adrechians into what is now the Central Authority. The Central Authority also has clear association with every faction but Lost Seltor, being allied and having contract work done by both the Divers and the Ignition Union, being at war with the Etrians and Ministry, and they were ex-allies of the 100 Legion before betraying them and, you know, becoming enemies of them. With their only current positive relations being held with the Divers, Ignition Union, Summer Company, and Knives of Eyeless. And the Summer Company does do contract work, which I didn't mention when I talked about the Divers and the Ignition Union right there, and it's because it's not the same, which we'll get into later. Now, my take on Dralis Heir is that he's probably the Deepwoken of like Thundercall or something, because realistically think about it. All the currently known Deepwoken, which are the First Prophet and Pleetsky, are not in the game and they are missing, presumed to be in the depths somewhere. Now, if he is immortal, which is stated, then why wouldn't he be the Deepwoken of Thundercall? He's been missing, so he could just be in the depths chilling down there, like, you know, the other two known Deepwoken. And he's immortal, which is something that only Deepwoken have, which they're technically only considered semi-immortal because they can still be killed, I think, but they don't die of age, which you don't do in the Deepwoken world anyway, which is so strange because immortality is not made clear in the Deepwoken world. They're like semi-immortal, you can be killed, but you can't be killed. It doesn't even make sense. None of it makes sense. You're not supposed to question it. But I think Dralis Heir is the Thundercall Deepwoken. That's not confirmed, though. Hey guys, it's editing Reaconteur here. I'm currently in Archmage's basement. They're trying to keep me from telling the truth in these lore videos. I'm being held captive. You guys need to know the truth. I can't say it here, but at the end of the video, I'm gonna tell you guys who Drawless Air actually is, okay? You just need to keep watching. Next up is the Knives of Eyeless. Let's cover them very quickly. They're a mercenary group who are currently hired by the Central Authority to just cause chaos in the Etrian Luminant. Now, their main base is a bit weird as it is the Void Heart, but the Void Heart isn't real. The Void Heart is a collective dream where Voidwalkers go every night after sleeping to collect assignments and meet with each other. It's kind of oath-bound, so like, you know, they can't just not have that dream. It's also believed the way that they teleport to bounties is through a deal that they have with the Void Mother, which is their weird god thing who speaks to them in their dreams. Now, the second notable person within the Void Heart and the Knives of Eyeless is Eyeless, the Punished Dreamer. She is also the leader of the Knives of Eyeless and is purposely nearly identical in looks to Claris. Reaconteur has also stated that her and Claris are like two sides of the same coin, potentially hinting at some sort of hidden relationship between them, which is currently unknown. I think they're sisters though. Even their names are similar. They look the same. Their names are Claris and Eyeless. I think they're sisters. That's just what makes sense to me. But that's not confirmed. Anyway, next up is the Hive. The Hive is a very old isolationist society which was founded by whatever the ancestral race of Vesperians and Ganymedes are. So these people are ancient. Currently, the people of Hive are mostly Vesperians and Ganymede for that reason. Actually, like, only Vesperian and Ganymede. Now, they live in the Great Hives, which are just big fireproof hollow trees, and the leader of these trees is known as a Hive Lord. All the Hive Lords in turn serve the Great Lord of the Hive, who is their supreme leader. The Hive doesn't really have any allies as they like to do things on their own, which is why they gatekeep various man-made attunements such as Lifeweave and Iron Sing. Their greatest weapon and tool, Lifeweave, gives them the ability to do quite a lot of things, from gene splicing to the creation of organic technology like the Hive mechs to shooting plasma lasers, to the creation of completely new life forms. The most notorious of these creations are the big flying Gundams that shoot plasma lasers, which were stated to exist but aren't in the game at this point in time. The Hive also get in constant fights with the Etrians to defend their Lifeweave artifact, which Etria wants for some unknown reason. I'm pretty sure it's just the Lord Regent trying to get it for the Ministry, so he commands Etrian soldiers to go get it for him. Now, as for notable members of the Hive, we have a few, starting with Yayafino, the developer, who in-game is the lore character known as Zithori Rem Ryback Duri. He's supposed to be the Great Lord and leader of the Hive, and that's all that's really known unless you take everything known about Yayafino and put it in this section. There's also an unknown Hive Lord known as Jimak Duri, who is related to him, and he was fired and replaced as the Hive Lord after an unknown accident killed a bunch of people. And then finally, we have Laplace Duri, who is Laplace, who has the ability to swap enchants and weapons, and he's also part of the Duri family, which is like the Hive's royal family. So anyone with that last name is directly related and, you know, part of the bloodline that comes from the current supreme leader. And, you know, he's also, of course, directly related to the last two people mentioned, and they're basically the only lore NPCs that matter that aren't in the game. Next up is the Summer Company, the primary manufacturers of guns, ammunitions, and explosives within the Deepwoken world. They are a mercantile company who really just sell stuff to anyone who's willing to pay the price for their weapons and gunpowder. They make their guns by reconstructing weapons of the old world pre-Cataclysm, which is very strange because it hints that before the song, humanity was on a very similar route to where we are today. They are enemies of the Ignition Union because the Ignition Union keeps stealing shipments of weapons and gunpowder from them. In response, they sent a mercenary group to go rob the Union, which just ended up triggering all the robot Sharkos in Miner's Landing, which is why they're aggressive towards people in game rather than passive like they're supposed to be. As for notable people, first of all, Rosen Gunsmith Rosen, who is the leader of the Summer Company. He invented the worst weapons of all time, Rosen's Hellflame, as well as many others like the Storm's Eye. This guy's going like 0 for 2. Then we have Gunsmith Hierka, a spy who served under Rosen to steal blueprints and bring them to the Central Authority, which resulted in the creation of the Rifle Spear, as well as tension between the Summer Company and Central Authority. And then we have my favorite NPC in the entire game, the Guy. He leads a Summer Company team, but I'll just let you see some of his dialogue explaining why he's my favorite NPC.
What are you looking at? Show some respect. I'm a bit of a big deal around here. Bit of a big shot. You might have heard of me. They call me the Guy. Why, you may ask? There's nobody else like me. I'm simply the Guy. The pinnacle of confidence and swagger. The pride of Summer Company. And you, rat?
He's cool as fuck, and for some reason he's fully voice acted. I don't know why. Just listen to some more of it.
Those shoes, the equivalent of an Aricia bandit's life worth. Those clothes are the most poor quality excuse of an outfit I've ever seen. Where did you get that one? Off a corpse? Don't even get me started on all these gaudy knickknacks you're wearing. This isn't fashion. This is an embarrassment.
And the final summer NPC is Mag, we play on the word magazine as in guns, a presumed iron singer who turns ore into bullet casing. Now, he's not confirmed to be an iron singer because there's only one confirmed iron singer in game, but he's the only guy who works with metal, so it's possible he is, which could also explain why he's kind of hidden. I didn't mention this earlier, I mentioned it in the attunement lore video, but the Hivekin, they kind of want to kill every natural-born iron singer because they're gatekeeping the attunement. Go watch that video if you haven't. On to our last two factions, starting with the Divers. The Divers are a depths-based faction in-game, with their main base and lore being found in the Central Luminant on the island known as Marker. The Divers are enemies of the Ignition Union, but contractually work with the Central Authority, with their main goal being the pursuit of knowledge and research of the depths to give this information to the Authority in order to prevent the spread of Void Sea and future drownings. The Divers are split into two ranks separated only by strength and power. Standard Divers, who make up researchers and scholars. About 98% of Standard Divers die every year in this line of work. The second ranking are the Black Divers, which only the strongest divers are allowed to become. Now, the Black Diver rank is based only off of strength, so actual contribution doesn't matter, and you can just join the Divers and immediately be a Black Diver if you're strong enough. Notable members include quite a few people, but I will only be going over the most important ones. Sorry, Carlia. First up is Akira the Fraud. Akira is a young and naive Black Diver, but he is supposedly very powerful and has a lot of potential. I hate him. And strength, especially shown through his bell, which is known as Corrupted Top Pop, which gives him the ability to instantly kill things at the cost of his own life, with weaker things only taking mere seconds to minutes off of his life, with stronger opponents potentially costing him years. Now, it's not known if this is like taken from a pool of time of life, so it's like, oh, every time he uses it he loses X amount of time or life, or if it's taking from a bigger pool of life force and it kind of just shortens his life in that way, but it takes from his life. He also allows you to join the Divers in game. The next notable person is Clarice Le Fiend, the Mother of Lights. She is capable of using the radiant tones of the song, which she learned from a childhood friend and lightkeeper by the name of Vic. Her main goal is to engineer this into a form of lightkeeping easily usable by all to stave off the negative effects of the depths in Void Sea. And then we have both Chaser and Pleatsky, and honestly, I'm not going to talk about either of them here. This is already on track to be the longest lore video I've made so far, and they both basically got their own entire multi-minute segments with the attunements and depths lore videos, so if you want to know about them, go watch those videos. They will not be covered here. The last notable diver and Black Diver is Dr. Carrion, who makes the monster mantras, and he is a very skilled scientist, and he really doesn't care about anything other than his research, which we know because he can literally be found in Layer 2, Floor 2, reading books while the whole world is shattering around him. And although he is clearly a skilled fighter, as he's capable of reaching Floor 2 and he's a Black Diver, he would rather do research than help contain a drowned god that might just destroy the universe. He is still the weakest of the Black Divers in game, but that's not saying much because he's still well above average. And finally, we are at the Ignition Union, my personal favorite people and faction in the game, despite them being communists. Similarly to the Divers, they are also hired by the Central Authority, except their main goal isn't research, but rather just killing everything that they see down there. Their main base is Miner's Landing, and they consider the Divers enemies despite both being employed by the same people, the Central Authority. Ironically, while the Divers are focused on research and the Ignition Union is focused on killing things, their top ranks aren't determined by strength, but rather contribution of technological or knowledge-based advancements that benefit the Union as a whole. The Ignition Union has the only base in Layer 2 of the depths, and the Ignition Union considers the Summer Company their enemies because, you know, they instigated a feud with them because they really wanted gunpowder and explosives, but I guess they'd rather not pay for it because they now consider the Summer Company enemies and just steal from them whenever they want stuff. As for notable members, the first being Adar, the Iron Sing trainer who wants to find out how to bring Iron Sing back into the main world without being assassinated by the Hive. Adar is an Ignition Deep Delver, given the rank for his contributions with the Iron Sing attunement. Then there is Deep Delver Gamma, who's really just an information board in the depths, who kind of just tells you lore stuff about the Union. Then there's Deep Delver Renau, who sends you down to Layer 2 through the Deep Drill, and he's in charge of the expeditions in the depths in Layer 2. And then we have Alpha, a non-Deep Delver, but he is the leader of the Layer 2 base in the depths, or at least seems to be the leader of it, because he's, you know, old and he kind of just commands people around there. And then the most important Ignition Deep Delver, Gawain Corbett, who made the song found in the book A Hammer's Call. I'm assuming this is his major contribution that got him the Deep Delver rank, but here, listen to the song.
Fine workers of the Union, come hear the hammer call. We'll stand in solidarity, shoulder to shoulder, together tall. shoulder to shoulder, together tall.
Anyway, that is all for factions. I hope you all enjoyed. Shoutouts to YouTube members Green Brick, Pickle, Goobka, High Card, and Drizzy Drake Fan. I love you all. Have an amazing day, and goodbye. Guys, it's editing Reaconteur here. They left me again. Dralis Air is the Meat Lord. I'm telling you, he is the Meat Lord. He's stated to be super strong, and it's for a reason. It's because he's more. He's not an Adrechian at all. He is Dorian from Rogue Lineage. Someone please send help. I need help. I'm not okay down here. I'm not okay. They're making me give shoutouts to the YouTube members. I don't even want to give shoutouts. I hate the YouTube members. I hate Deepwokens lore. The oceans are communist. You need to remember that. You need to remember that the oceans are communist. They will not stop until all you know about lore is wrong. You need to watch my incorrect on Deepwokens lore. That's the only true lore.